Hi guys, Jess here with Angel's Grove. So today I'm going to show you how I propagate my succulents. It's really easy, it's really fun. It does take some patience though, so be prepared to wait and keep waiting. So today I'm going to talk about the Echeveria Perle von Nurnberg. It's a very popular succulent. It has a really pretty purple color, really pretty pink on the inside. And it propagates extremely easily. So I have a lot of different stages here to show you and some tips on how to make it successful. So first off, I have a succulent here that's gotten a little bit taller than I would like it to be. I like it more when it's compact and together and short. And so I think I'm going to also cut him off and then replant him, which I'll show in a different video. But for the purposes, this is a perfect one to propagate. And so about 3 days ago I watered them, and then I waited just for all of the water to soak up into the leaves. And that's really important because once you pull off the leaf to propagate a succulent like this Echeveria, that's all the water that it's going to be reliant on until it can grow new roots, until it can grow a new system for itself to get water that way. So you definitely want to make sure that you have watered your plants prior to propagating. Otherwise they're just going to wrinkle up and dry up and die essentially, and you're not going to see any babies. So I have a couple different steps here, but we'll start with how to remove a leaf. And so sometimes these just fall off naturally, which is great. Sometimes they break off if you're trying to do an arrangement. Save any leaves that fall off for an arrangement because you can always grow new babies. So you want to start at the base or the bottom of the succulent as far down as you can, and then you try to just wiggle off the bottom. And this takes some patience as well, but it shouldn't take too long depending on the succulent. Now something like this Echeveria Lola might take me a little bit more time. He's not planted very well. I just plopped him in here for a second ago, but his leaves are a lot closer together, and sometimes those ones break easier. But I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but the top of him is very clean. It's not separated, no juices are coming out. It was a nice clean break. And so you can do this a couple times with a couple leaves. You definitely want to make sure you have multiple. You don't want to just go with one, you know, and this isn't also guaranteed that it will succeed. So you definitely want to have a couple choices. So all of those are really good cuttings, and I hope you'll be able to see them, but nothing's coming out. They're all perfect. I'll show you a bad cutting. So if you push down, hopefully this one's not just gonna pop off, but oh gosh, okay, well, anyways, if your succulent breaks right here instead, and you have this, that is not going to work. It might, I'm not saying it's impossible, but your chances of it actually working are very low, and I've never had a succulent propagate from a break like this, except for calicoe fuzzier plants like that. Those ones are strange and just are miracle plants. But yeah, so making sure you get a good cutting is really good. If you even get part of the stem, that's even better. It, you know, just ensures that you didn't break any of the leaf. It doesn't hurt the parent plant at all. It'll just scar over and they'll be fine. So that's how you pull the leaf off. And then you can put these in a tray, you can put them in a bowl. You just want to make sure that you're not putting them in direct sunlight the entire day, because they are more fragile than an actual succulent who does require a lot of sunlight. But you want to just make sure that they're not going to dry up immediately as little babies. So usually what I do is I just throw them in a frisbee that I have laying around, and then you can see here these ones are starting to get a little wrinkly, but they'll form little roots first. These are some I did probably a couple weeks ago, but hopefully you can see those little tiny roots. They'll start putting those out, and then at that point you can either put them in a tray with dirt, or you can do dry propagation, which isn't a new method, but it it's something different where you can just wait until the leaf completely dries up and a new baby completely forms, and then you plant it. If you live in a more humid climate, that might be more helpful for you because a lot of times they have troubles with mealybugs. And so here in Colorado, I haven't really noticed much of a difference, but dry propagation still worked great for me, and you know, putting them in some dirt has also worked. So I hope you were able to see the little tiny rosettes that were starting to form. These two have some going. They're really small, very delicate. You want to make sure that those don't break off because that is what they've been working for this entire time. So yeah, you just want to put those in a little shady spot. I put them underneath all of my other plants here, and they're kind of blocked from the grow light, but they're still given indirect sunlight so they can keep growing. But yeah, and it will also depend on the succulent that you're trying to propagate to. Everything depends on what kind of succulent you're trying to propagate. They're all very different. So then, after you plant them either in a bowl or with a little dirt, this is my current propagation tray. It's a complete wreck. I planted it before Christmas break so that I could have something going still. But this one right here is a great example. The leaf is really shriveled up. It's made a pretty little rosette. It has some roots growing, and then you can remove the leaf. A lot of times the leaves will actually just completely dry up and fall off. Other times you can remove them yourselves. I get really impatient and just remove them myself probably before it's time to remove them. But a good way to know that, and it's going to take a lot of practice to really know when your succulent's ready and get a feel for it, but I like to start by pinching off at this base, and then you can kind of just twist it, and the goal is to not to try to take the roots with it. So yeah, there you have it. There's a little tiny succulent, and then you can just put him back in his bowl, replant that in there. This one I think I'm going to let wait a little bit longer. His leaf's not completely dried up. And if you don't feel comfortable with removing the leaves, you definitely don't have to. A lot of the leaves will fall off on their own eventually. So that shouldn't be too bad at all. And then once they're at that stage, they've got, you know, their own root system and they've made a little establishment for themselves. You can start by replanting them in bigger pots. So this is one that I grew from leaf. He's doing really well. He's actually made 2 rosettes, which is great, another bonus. This one has also made 2 rosettes, but they're growing at different speeds. So what might have also happened is he already grew himself another baby. So that's just the next size. And then they also stay the size of their container a lot of times. So if you plant them in a large container, they'll grow to that size container. But if I just keep this little guy in a container this size, he most likely won't grow to be this size until I replant him. However, they do like their own containers, I found, to their own size. They don't just love a ton of dirt. That also takes a really long time to dry. But yeah, so here's a bunch of different stages, and I hope that that helped. For other succulents, if you have Haworthias, they're extremely popular plants. They also are great for beginners because they do really well in shade. Not a lot of shade, but you don't have to have them full sun like you would want succulents. And the difference between these and something like an Echeveria is that these guys are much better at producing offsets on their own. So rarely, I guess I've never done it, and I haven't seen anybody successful at it, but if there is a video of that, I'm sure it's possible. But these guys are really good at making their own babies. So this was the mom plant, and then all of these around here are all offsets of him. And then I'll have another video up here shortly where I show you how to remove those from the mom plant. That's also really easy, and it's almost impossible to kill it. But yeah, so honestly, I like just making sure that these ones are healthy, that they're well watered, that they get a lot of sunlight. That's going to be your best bet for making a lot of little succulents off of your bigger one. And then I just have another example here of that one. This one has done amazing. I got these ones as a cutting when I was down in Texas, and it's just exploded. My aunt also had a huge pot of them, so I had taken, I think, a cutting or two from her pot, and this one, as you can see, has just made about as many babies as this pot will hold. So yeah, these ones do a lot better at just making their own offspring. But this entire tray from here over is all succulents that I've propagated myself. As you can see, it works. It's really fun, and I encourage you to experiment with it. A lot of people use pumice, so if you have problems with your succulents rotting, I would recommend using pumice on top of your soil or as your soil for your newly propagated plants, as it will also prevent mealybugs, and it also absorbs a lot of moisture, and so it will prevent your succulents from getting root rot as well. Here my water evaporates really quickly because they're under grow lights for probably 12 hours, if not 14 hours a day, so I don't have as big of an issue with root rot. But yeah, you can do this any time of the year. It's January right now. These guys will do great. This tray is doing great. It's a little neglected because I was gone for a month, but it's doing pretty well. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I post a lot of photos of my propagation tray on Instagram at Angels Grove Co. But yeah, I'm always willing to answer questions, so please let me know. Thanks.